Hello and welcome to Unexplained Scotland, Storytime. We've got a big one for you today. Today we're covering one of Scotland's most popular and enduring mysteries. It's been almost 200 years, there's been a lot of theories, a lot of ideas, but still, no one really knows what this is all about. So with that said, let's get into today's story, Edinburgh's Tiny Coffins. In 1836, a group of schoolboys headed up the slopes of Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh to look for rabbits. While they were looking for rabbits, one of the boys saw a pile of strange slates. What was strange about them, I don't quite know, but he thought, these slates are strange. So he called his friends over, he pointed out the slates, and they all agreed, these are some weird slates. So they go over to them and they find it's 3 slates. They pick them up and they realise they're covering a hole dug into the earth. And in the earth are 17 miniature coffins. Each coffin is 95mm long, each one contains a hand-carved person, each person is dressed in an individual little outfit, and to this day, no one knows who made them, why they made them, and why they buried them in a little mound on Arthur's Seat. Before we go any further, I think we should talk about Arthur's Seat, which has a history of strange tales and legends. Many say Arthur's Seat is a possible site for King Arthur's Camelot. An apostle claimed to have climbed Arthur's Seat and spoke to God. Some women believe it housed the Fountain of Youth. It has a generally bloody history, and it is believed to still be a site of pagan and occult rituals to this day. This is all interesting, but it doesn't really shed any light on why these miniature coffins were there. So let's talk about some theories. Witchcraft. A lot of people think that the little hand-carved figures were some sort of voodoo doll. It's an interesting theory, but it doesn't really hold up. Voodoo dolls generally are made out of destructible materials, I'm sure you've seen it in movies and all sorts of stuff, that you get a part of someone, put it on the doll, break it, burn it. It happens to the person. These hand-carved figures were made to last. What's more, the coffins they were in were made to protect them from the elements. So I don't think that one really makes sense. Saxon burial. Apparently, part of their traditions and rituals is if a friend or a family member passes away in some sort of distant land away from you, you make a little figure of them and you bury it as a mark of respect. But 17, and on Arthur's Seat, and how many Saxons could have been living in Edinburgh in the 1800s? Again, I don't think so. Okay, so here's an interesting one. Burke Hare. Could the tiny coffins be somehow connected to the infamous body snatchers? Okay, Burke Hare had 17 victims. There were 17 coffins. Burke Hare were active in Edinburgh just a few years before the coffins were found. Could there be a connection there? This is an interesting theory, but 12 of Burke Hare's victims were female, and every little person in the coffin appeared to be male. And we still have no who or why. Was it someone connected to the murder somehow that was racked with guilt that wanted to make these little things as a mark of respect? Or was it just someone who wanted to pay respect to the victims? But why Arthur's Seat? Why bury them? Why hide it? Let's fast forward to 1990. In 1990, the coffins were examined in more detail, and here is what we know. The figures were carved by hand, likely by one person. The coffins, however, may have been made by 2 separate people. The materials used point towards the creator being a shoemaker or something similar. The fabric on the clothes is from the early 1830s, and they could not have been buried for more than 6 years. But what about the 18th coffin? In December 2014, the National Museum of Scotland received an anonymous package. The package was labelled XVIII 18. Inside was a new coffin, a new person inside the coffin, and a paragraph from the Robert Louis Stevenson short story, The Body Snatchers from 1884. So where did this mysterious 18th coffin come from? Okay, here's my hot take on the coffins. I think we can discount the 18th coffin, unless it was some relative descendant of the original coffin creator who's passed the secret down and down, and they have made a new one in honour of him. Or it's the original creator come back from the dead to make a new coffin. I think we can assume it's just someone who's a fan of the mystery who made one as a bit of a homage to send in. As much as I would love it to be a relative or the guy back from the dead, that would be a great story. Okay, so let's just stick to the original 17 coffins. If these were found today, my first thought would be they were put there by an artist who wanted them to be found so it could go viral and garner a bit of fame. Which they kind of did, I mean, we're still talking about them. Could it have been an artist some 200 years ahead of his time? It's an interesting idea, but I would think at some point he or she would have stepped forward and said, it was me, give me the attention. no one's ever come forward. I like the Burke and Hare theory, but I think all the little guys in the coffins being male kinda takes away from it. I think if someone really wanted to pay respect to it, they'd make them all anatomically correct. But who knows, maybe the guy carving the little figures just couldn't carve women and their bits. I have a theory that's a bit similar to the Burke and Hare theory. As I mentioned earlier, Arthur's Seat has a long and bloody history. There's reports of murders and suicides going back to the 16th century and beyond even that. I think maybe someone was trying to pay respect to all these victims, though I can't find any relation to the number 17. But then I thought maybe all 17 weren't placed there at the same time. I found no evidence to suggest all the coffins were brought up and put in this little hiding place at the same time. Maybe whoever was making them was bringing them up individually as they were made, one or two at a time. Maybe he hadn't reached the number he was going for. Maybe there was still more to come and be placed behind these slates, these slabs, before he finished. Maybe these kids found it too soon and he had to abandon the project. So this leads me to think, when the miniature coffins were found, did he or she stop making them? If making these coffins was this person's, I guess, hobby, or he was doing it for some sort of reason, it doesn't make sense that he just stopped in the middle of it. I think there's a very good chance that somewhere in Edinburgh, hidden for almost 200 years, is another little cache of these tiny coffins. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I got really into researching this story. I went a bit crazy with it. I wanted to come away finding some big answer for everyone to reveal, but I've left just about as empty-handed as everyone else who's looked into this. So the floor is open. What do you think happened? Who put them there? And why? If you enjoyed this video and you want a bit more mystery, check out our video on the Gurning Man. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment on the video, let us know what you think. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay spooky.